Hey everyone, welcome to Wealth Redefined. I'm your host, Michael Reynolds, independent financial advisor and owner of Elevation Financial on the web at elevationfinancial.com. Thanks for joining me today. As always, glad you are here. Today, 6 ways to improve your credit score. We're going to talk about improving your credit score, what goes into it, how to keep it high, get it high and keep it high, or higher, I should say. So here's the thing. Dealing with your credit score is a necessary part of participating in our modern financial system. So there are lots of different opinions about debt. My opinion about debt is pretty extreme. I don't use credit cards. I try to avoid all debt if possible, aside from mortgage. I'm pretty anti-debt, but most people use credit cards and make use of debt at least to some extent. So no judgment in terms of where people are in the spectrum of how often they use debt. But in general, most people do use credit cards and have debt of some sort. So credit scores can be important. Your credit score is a metric that can have significant impact on your ability to have options in life. So one of the most important ways your credit score plays a role is how it affects your ability to buy a house, for example. There are other ways your score can affect including the price you pay for auto insurance in some states or your ability to get a cell phone plan. So credit scores are they're just a fact of life. They do play a part in how we interact with the modern financial system. So, whatever your feelings are about debt and credit, whether you're super extreme like me and don't use credit cards or whether you do, the credit score system is embedded enough in our society that it makes sense to be aware of your score and to manage it intentionally. So what are some ways to improve your credit score and keep it high? That's what we're going to talk through today. So first, pay all bills on time. This one seems pretty obvious, but it's important to have on the list, possibly the most important. In order to avoid issues with your credit score, you need to pay your mortgage, car loans, credit cards, other debt payments on time. Also, the longer you go missing a payment, the more it may hurt you. So, even if you're a few days late, go ahead and get that bill paid as soon as possible. Your score may be damaged more if you let it go longer. So don't feel like, oh, I've missed a payment, it's too late, the die is cast. No, that's not true. If you get your payment in a few days late, that's going to be better than waiting a month to make the payment. So pay all bills on time or as close to on time as possible. And that's a big factor in your credit score. Next, keep your debt to credit ratio low. You may have heard of your debt to income ratio. That's commonly used in determining your qualifications for a mortgage, for example. But your debt to credit ratio, which is also known as your credit utilization rate, affects your credit score on an ongoing basis. So what's a good debt to credit ratio and how is it calculated? So this is from the Equifax site. This is one of the credit bureaus, and they've explained debt to credit ratio. And from Equifax is, quote, you can determine your debt to credit ratio by dividing the total amount of credit available to you across all your revolving accounts by the total amount of debt on those accounts. So for example, let's say you have 2 credit cards with a combined credit limit of $10,000. If you owe $4,000 on one card and $1,000 on the other for a combined total of $5,000, your debt to credit ratio is 50%. Many lenders use credit scoring formulas that take your debt to credit ratio into consideration. In general, lenders like to see a debt to credit ratio of 30% or lower. If your ratio is higher, it could signal to lenders that you're a riskier borrower who may have trouble paying back a loan. As a result, your credit score may suffer, end quote. So there's your debt to credit ratio or credit utilization. Those are interchangeable terms. For this particular thing. So does that mean that if your debt to credit ratio is 30% does this mean that if your debt to credit ratio is 30% that you're in good shape? Not necessarily. Like many financial ratios used in lending, this metric is a limit, not the ideal number. So keeping your credit utilization as low as possible is generally ideal from the standpoint of both credit score and for risk management. The higher utilization you have, the riskier your credit situation is. All right, next on the list, avoid canceling credit cards you've had for a long time. The length of your credit history plays a part in determining your credit score. A longer credit history is better for your credit score. So if you want to cancel some credit cards to streamline your finances, that's fine, but consider canceling cards that you've acquired more recently and keep the ones that are older if you want to reduce the impact on your credit score. That way your credit history stays longer. Next, have more than one type of debt. This hurts my heart because, again, I'm pretty anti-debt, but if you want your credit score to be as high as possible, part of that factor is going to be having a credit mix. Part of your credit score is based on your credit mix. So according to Investopedia, the definition of credit mix is this. Credit mix refers to the types of accounts that make up your credit report. Pretty simple. This means that if you only have one type of debt, such as a mortgage, then your credit score might not be as high as if you also had credit cards with the mortgage. The mortgage and the credit cards are two different types of credit and create more variety in your credit mix because the mortgage is an installment loan and the credit cards are revolving debt. So having two different types of debt gives you more variability in your credit mix. This is according to Experian, one of the credit bureaus. Quote, an ideal credit mix includes a blend of revolving and installment credit. An easy way to use revolving credit is to open a credit card and pay your bill on time every month. Ideally, charge only what you can pay off every month to avoid interest. If you don't have an installment loan and only have credit cards, consider opening a small personal loan or other type of secured loan. This will demonstrate your ability to manage different types of credit, end quote. All right. Side note, yeah, I realize that if you're like me and pretty anti-debt, the idea of opening up a loan just to get a credit mix might seem a little weird or uncomfortable or silly. But it depends on your goals. If your goals are to get your credit score as high as possible, then opening additional mixes or different types of loans to give you a better credit mix can help. If credit score is not a super high priority, then I wouldn't necessarily go out and get a loan just for the sake of getting a loan. So again, it depends on your goals, but know that your credit score can be affected by your credit mix. Next on the list, pay your credit card bill weekly. This is a little known tip that many don't utilize. So remember the credit utilization or the debt to credit ratio. That's the amount you're utilizing that credit limit. So one way to keep it low is to pay your credit card bill weekly rather than monthly. Most people pay their bill monthly, but your credit cards report your balances monthly to credit bureaus. So this means that your credit balance on the day it's reported is the number used to calculate your debt to credit ratio. So by paying off your credit card weekly, you keep your credit utilization low so that a lower number is reported each month. So by paying your credit card bill weekly, that can help keep your credit score high because your debt to credit ratio or credit utilization is lower. Finally, on this list, avoid too many hard inquiries. So when you apply for a new loan or credit card, the lender will do what's called a hard inquiry on your credit. This can damage your credit score, although typically not by more than a few points. So this is a quote from NerdWallet on hard inquiries. Quote, hard inquiries on your credit, the kind that happen when you apply for a loan or credit card, can stay on your credit report for about 24 months. However, a hard inquiry typically won't affect your score after 12 months. Applying for a credit can knock a few points off your credit score, but making multiple inquiries in a short window counts as a single inquiry when you shop for a mortgage, student loan, or auto loan, end quote. So in order to keep your credit score high, you'll want to avoid applying for too many loans or cards, especially across kind of a longer time period. So, avoid those hard inquiries too often. All right. So when it comes to consistently maintaining a high credit score, keeping your credit score high can help you maintain options throughout your life and can help you sometimes keep costs down. So keep in mind that a high credit score is not the same thing as being financially healthy. It's only one factor in your financial life. That said, maintaining a high credit score can be useful and can be simple if you keep your debt under control and generally stay organized with your finances. So that is how to keep your credit score high or as high as possible. Remember those things if credit score is something that is on your radar. So as always, I'm happy to chat about this or anything else that is a concern or a question for you. Feel free to reach out. My website is elevationfinancial.com, and you are welcome to book a complimentary money session using the button on the homepage. And that is a way to grab about 45 minutes with me. You can pop your questions in the form when you schedule, your top 2 to 3 questions, whatever they may be. I will be happy to go over them with you, give you feedback and some general guidance, help wherever I can. And again, that's free. So feel free to book that if you want. elevationfinancial.com. Have a great day. See you next time.